I've got two different cards to show you. I think you're going to like them both. And with them, I'm featuring the Well-Suited suite, the Well-Suited product suite. And that is in our mini catalog, pages 66 and 67. Let me flip my camera around. I'll show you those products close up, and I'll show you the cards we're going to be making. With the Well-Suited product suite, we have these gorgeous designer series paper. It reminds you of men's shirts, ties, things like that, right? This one I love. I mean, they're all great. To me, I always think of this as like the presidential tie fabric. And this one, I don't know why, but it reminds me of my brother-in-law. So that's kind of funny. But I just learned on Friday that the patterns for these papers actually came from men's clothing. Somebody on the Stampin' Up, I don't know, remember if it was the product team or the design team, actually pulled ties and shirts and things from his own closet. And they photographed various ones and printed various ones. And this is how they came up with the designer series paper. So I thought that was just really, really interesting. I love to hear stories like that and to know where Stampin' Up! Gets their inspiration. This is the bundle that coordinates with that designer series paper. And they also have this twine in Night of Navy and Basic Gray. And I should point out too that this is one of those product suites that is super affordable. It's the bundle, it's the paper and the twine, $66. If you buy this whole Well-Suited suite, that entitles you to choose a free celebration product from our celebration brochure, but you have to do it by February 28th to get that free product. Okay, so let's start with my first card. The first card is one you might think of that you can use up some of your scraps on, or just very quickly and easily make up a bunch of cards because you are just cutting simple shapes and adding layers. So the inspiration for today's card is this card that I received in a swap. And I'm sorry to say, I can't remember which demonstrator made this because I'd like to give that person credit. But anyways, if that person is out there watching, give yourself a shout out. Okay. Joyce, I did not do a paper share this time. So you did not miss out. I just couldn't get it all together with my Creative Escape weekends and other things happening. So no, I did not do a paper share this time. I plan to do one for the new catalog that starts in May, our new annual catalog. So this was really simple to case because I simply got out my ruler, my grid, and just measured all the rectangles on here. So I'm going to give the measurements to you as we go along. My card base, of course, is 5.5 by 8.5. I score at 4 1/4 and crease that nicely. I have a piece of the basic white for the inside of my card. I have basic black that measures 5 inches by 3 3/4. Now this piece, you could use any cardstock, but I chose to use another piece of the designer series paper from the Well-Suited suite. And this one measures 4 7/8 by 3 5/8. So this will actually take the place of the basic white layer you see on my inspiration card. But you can see I've cut it the same size. And then I need 3 pieces of a different but coordinating designer series paper. Now, when you make this type of card, it's very easy to get coordinating papers from the same DSP package. However, there is nothing wrong with going through your scraps and pulling papers from a multitude of various DSPs. So keep that in mind. I know some people will tend to, I always keep my scraps in the same package they started out in. But I know some people just kind of put their scraps all together in a bin or what have you. So it's always fun to mix and match. So these pieces measure 1 3/8 by 3 1/4. 1 3/8 by 3 1/4. And I'm just going to use my multi-purpose glue for these because you know I will want to make sure that they are spaced evenly and things like that when I am actually gluing them down. So if I use the multi-purpose glue, that gives me some time to move them around if I need to. Make sure I'm in your screen here. So I'm just going to lay them gently. I like to lay the outer ones first. And I'm looking at the corners so that I can see if my top and bottom margins are equal with the side margins. That looks pretty good. It's a little bit tricky on this grid paper. It's got a lot of lines going on. Scoot this one over just a bit. Straighten that one out. And I'd say that looks pretty good. So remember the layer I put this on is 4 7/8 by 3 5/8. And I'm now putting it on a black layer, which measures 5 inches by 3 3/4. There we go. It paused for a moment. So you can always go back to the video replay from Stampin' Piece VIP group. And then I have this bright Pacific Point cardstock. Now before I adhere this, I'm just going to do a bow. I'm not sure if I like the gray or the navy with it. Do you have a preference, gray or navy? I'm just going to wrap it around that layer and then tie a bow in the front. I think I'm going to go with the gray this time. And I'm actually going to double up my twine when I go around. Oh, Joyce says, how about both? You know, let's do both. We'll go a little crazy. We've got a couple people saying do both. Chris was agreeing with me, the gray. Now, if you want, it can be tricky tying bows, so I don't often tie a knot before I complete my bow, and the reason being, with ribbon, a lot of times it gets kind of bulky right there, but with twine, you don't get all that bulk. So to make it easier, I just tied a simple knot before I actually tied the bow. That way you don't have to worry about have you pulled everything tight enough for the bow. Those loops want to keep twisting on me, but that's all right. Okay, I'd say that looks pretty good. Let's decide on a sentiment. We can always use masculine birthdays. There's a lot of great sentiments in here. A lot of great sentiments, but I'm going to stick with the happy birthday to you. And I want to see how well this fits in my, oh, not quite. I think it's a little bit big for that small oval, but why not try it out, right? And I'm going to stamp it in, excuse my reach here, and pull out my ink pad. I'm going to stamp it in Pacific Point. I'm first going to punch it with the large scallop oval because I have a feeling it's just a, oh, well, no, I guess it would fit. Except I don't like the way that's stamped. Let me restamp that. I thought this sentiment would be too big for our small oval. But you know what? I think it'll just fit. I'll save that and use that for something else. And I'm actually going to pop this up then with, oh, you know what? It might look sharp against the black. I think I'm going to do that. And maybe I'll use this one on my next card. Not sure yet. That blue color is Pacific Point, Marion. That that is our friend Tracy Dowling. You know Tracy. That's her favorite blue, and it's never been a favorite color of mine. I can't really say why. I just don't love it. But the funny thing is, when it goes with designer series paper and I use it, I find then I really love it. So maybe it's just a matter of getting out of my comfort zone a little bit. And using a color that I wouldn't ordinarily choose. I have to say too, that is why I like Stampin' Up! Designer Series paper so much, and I use it a lot. I love using designer series paper. And I think it's because I draw so much inspiration just from the patterns and colors and things. Or if you're somebody that's not good at putting color combinations together, like me, it just is a big help. It just is a big help. Because they've already given us color combinations. And do you all know that on the back of the designer series paper packages, they list the colors for us? So for example, right here is the well-suited designer series paper. Right under the name of the paper, they tell you all the colors that were used in, are used in that package of paper. So it's easy, if you're ordering designer series paper, it's easy to order the cardstocks and the ink pads that coordinate with it. I guess we could go over to the side, but I want this in the center this time. But either one would work well, the side or a center sentiment. And then I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to the inside of my card, since now I know for sure I'm not planning to stamp in it. You could add sentiments to the inside. You could even stamp one of the ties in there, but just super fun, super easy. All right, I was gonna decorate the envelope with you, but I think I'll show you the second card first. And if we have time, we're gonna add some cardstock to our cards. Remind me of that so I don't forget. My second card was also inspired by a swap card I received. And this one I do remember the creator is a demonstrator friend of mine, Sandy Carlson. And I love this because, look at this. It allows us to show off both sides of our designer series paper again. And you know that I have shown you some fun folds in the past that allow us to do that very same thing, show off both sides of the designer series paper. Isn't it awful when you have to choose which side of paper you're going to use? I know sometimes I've had to do that during a Facebook Live and people would say, oh, I hate that you're covering up the other side. Well, guess what? Now we don't have to. But isn't this a great fun fold? So let's make this together. I have a piece of black cardstock, and this is going to be the base that I'm building that fun fold on. So it measures 5.5 by 4 1/4. 5.5 by 4 1/4. Then I have a piece of designer series paper that has been cut to 4 inches by 12 inches. Okay, 4 inches by 12 inch. And now I need to score this. So I'm going to score this at 1 inch to start with. Score at 1 inch. Then at 4 1/4. And then 9.5 inches. So again, I'm scoring at 1 inch, 4 1/4, and 9.5. Decide what you want to be the outside and inside. When you're scoring, you typically have the outside, what is showing on the front of your card, facing up when you're scoring. So that's the outside. This is my inside. I'm going to fold those in, and then that 1 inch flap I want to fold out, and that gives me my contrasting pattern right there. I'm going to adhere that 1 inch flap so it stays shut. Now I'm going to keep this closed, and I want to adhere it to my basic black card base. Don't try to adhere this while the designer series paper is open. Have it closed so that you can see the margins all the way around, so that you know the margins, top, bottom, left, and right, are all equal. You wouldn't be able to see that all if you had it opened. Now I do have a piece of white cut for the inside, and I'm not going to stamp on the inside. I don't think. Well, you know what? Let's stamp on the inside. How about if we stamp one of these ties on the inside. Just right along the side there. I'll use Pacific Point ink again. It's pretty good. And I'm going to do it right along the left side. Perfect. I'll now add that to the inside. Now remember, this is a little bit smaller for the inside than what we usually cut. So it's 5 inches by 3 3/4. 5 inches by 3 3/4. And now it's time for us to decorate. You can see here what my friend Sandy did on her card. I will use this one, I believe. I like that. And I was thinking I had some black ribbon. Let me see about that. No, I'm not liking the black ribbon with it. The black ribbon I had was that sparkly one. Should we do this? Let's go ahead and use, we'll use just gray this time. We're going to double up the gray this time. And I want to tie this around this flap. So I'm using the basic gray baker's twine. Oh, I can think of an awesome embellishment for this card. Can you all guess what that is, what I'm thinking for an embellishment? In addition to the twine, I should say. I think I saw, was it Katie maybe? Somebody requested the link to pre-order the In Bloom card class to go. I will go back through and double check who that was and be sure that gets sent out after the Facebook Live. Marion says the gray stripe looks like a suit her husband had. I was thinking my dad was a high school teacher and he wore a suit and tie to work every day, just about. And yes, that gray pinstripe, that made me think of my dad. That's funny. How something that simple can make us, give us a fond memory of somebody. Yes, Amy and Tammy, I'm thinking the enamel, the matte black dots, exactly what I was thinking. All right, I'm just going to scoot this bow over a little bit more. To see how I do that, I just curl my paper a little bit, and then that makes it easy to slide your ribbon or your twine either direction. I'll pop this up with some dimensionals, of course. Then we'll add some matte black dots to this pretty card. So often people tell me, I need ideas for masculine cards. Well, here's a couple that are super easy. And they don't have to be masculine either. There's lots, you can mix and match the patterns different way, but of course it was designed for that. Now if I can find my matte black dots, that would be awesome. Here we go. And you know I love my Take Your Pick tool because it just makes picking up your embellishments and placing them exactly where you want them so easy. Best $10 tool I've ever purchased, I have to say. Where do I want this one? Right there. Alrighty, should we put a couple over here? I think we should. I shouldn't say a couple, I should say 3. We want to add our embellishments in 3s. Alrighty, there you go. 2 fabulous cards, one being a fun fold. How about if we decorate our envelopes a little bit? On this first envelope, let's just simply do the same thing on the side of the envelope that we did on the inside of our card, and that is stamping a tie. And you can see it coordinates with the inside there. I like that. Now on this one, let's add some, this doesn't want to stay closed for me, does it? That bottom flap keeps popping up. And I want it to stay closed so you can see the finished card. Okay, on this one, let's add some designer series paper to the flap. I'm going to show you just how easy this is. Let's see here. How about if we use this stripe? So to start, the flap measures, let's see here, not quite 2 1/4 inches, just barely 2 1/4 inches, but I'm going to cut this to 2 3/8 just to give myself a little extra cutting room. And then I'm going to add some multi-purpose glue to the envelope flap. So go around the edges. You do want to get close to the edge because you don't want the flap lifting up at all when it goes through the mailing process. I'm going to put my silicone mat here just so I don't spread the glue on my desk mat. And push your DSP right up to that fold, but not going over it. Push it right up to the edge of that fold, but don't go over the fold. And press your DSP into place. And then you're simply going to, flip over the envelope, and you're going to use the edge of the flap as your cutting guide. I know some people will simply lay the envelope flap on their DSP and trace around it with a pencil. That's another way to do it as well. I just prefer this way. And there you have this gorgeous coordinating envelope. How simple is that? So you can stamp or you can use DSP to decorate your envelopes. Another thing I've done with DSP, and it's another great way to use up your DSP scraps, just adhere a narrow strip along the edge. Or you can do a strip of DSP along the back or along the bottom. But this is one of my favorite things to do with the DSP to decorate your envelope. And of course, I know you all know about stamping envelopes. You can also stamp the flap of the envelope. You don't always have to put it on that front side. Alrighty, I hope you've enjoyed today's demonstration, and I would like to give a prize away just because people are here on a gray Monday morning watching, and I'm going to send out a surprise Stampin' Up! Gift this time. A surprise Stampin' Up! Gift. Okay? So be sure if you're watching that you comment. Each time you comment, you will be entered into the drawing for my surprise Stampin' Up! Gift. Which reminds me, I don't think I pulled a winner. Yes, I did pull a winner from Friday. I did pull a winner, and it was somebody new, Marsha R. Can't remember the last name. So I'll be sending a Fun Fold Friday card to her. Okay? I hope I have inspired you. I hope you have found this Facebook Live to be helpful and motivating, and that you will do something creative today as a result of watching this Facebook Live. Have a great Monday. Make your own sunshine. Wear a mask. And if you're the lucky ones who've gotten your COVID vaccine, yay for you. And I'm just waiting patiently. Have a good day. See you soon.